Hello! 1973. A Japanese city perishes in the ashes of a battle between the winged, bloodthirsty Gyaos monsters and Gamera, a giant tortoise fighting desperately to save the humans. The flying lizards, joining in a pack, pounce on Gamera, mercilessly tearing him apart with their sharp fangs in front of the defenseless townspeople. Defeated Gamera, exhausted from the battle, sacrifices his life and uses his last weapon against the fierce monsters. Heating from the inside, he turns into a huge firebomb that explodes and destroys the winged assassins. The rescued townspeople rejoice and immediately flee from the scene of their protector's death. Just one small boy stays to pay his respect. But this is not the end of Gamera's story. He will be reborn for yet another fierce battle. 33 years after the legendary Battle of the Titans, Kosuke Aizawa keeps coming to the shore to pay his respects to the fallen hero. The man stops there on his way to the cemetery, where his wife is buried. Both father and son bring flowers to her grave. On the way back, Kosuke's son Toru notices a mysterious red flashing light on the island, but does not tell his father about his discovery. Kosuke Aizawa runs a cooking shop where he himself works as a chef. His establishment is always full of customers who are delighted with his dishes. During lunch, the guests watch a news bulletin. The anchor first reports that the Japanese Ministry for Combating Monsters has lost all its funding, and then a broadcast on a shipwreck with 6 crew members missing is shown. In the evening, Toru arrives at his father's shop too, instead of having a good dinner. The boy looks at a handwritten sign on the table, and suddenly hears a voice calling him from behind, naming him Toto. It turns out to be a memory of his mother, who used to call him so, but the unexpected lucid vision gets interrupted, and the boy goes home. Escaping the heat in his room, Toru turns on a fan as his friend Mai appears on the balcony across the room. The girl brags about the new issue of the comic she bought, and leaves it for her friend to read. The next day, the school children are happily walking along the coast. Among them is Toru, who stops to look for something in his backpack. At this moment, the boy sees the red blinking light on the island again, and his childish curiosity immediately takes over. After putting on his swimming gear, Toru swims to the island. He makes his way over the rocks to find the source of the mysterious glow, which turns out to be a shimmering rock. Along with it, Toru finds a small egg, and it begins to crack right in his palm. The astonished boy watches as a turtle with an amazing pattern on its shell is born. Toru, under the light of a lamp, examines the stone he has found, while his new pet, which the boy gives a name to, crawls on the floor in his room.
Toto, but you have to learn to trot.
Going to bed, Toru takes his friend with him and strictly orders him not to leave the room, explaining to the little turtle that his father forbids him to have pets. The next morning, however, the secret is already in danger of being revealed, while Toru is examining Toto, who has visibly grown overnight. His father, who has brought a vacuum cleaner with him to clean the house, bursts into the room. Confused, the boy hides his friend under the blanket and, trying to wriggle out of the situation, promises to clean up himself. Kosuke, delighted by this declaration, decides to tidy up his son's bed anyway and grabs the blanket, from which the clever Toto managed to slip out, and to Toru's surprise, begins to hover in the air behind his father's back. This scene is witnessed by Mai, who peeks through the window and is unable to hold back a scream, but stops immediately in response to her friend's pleading signals. Frightened by Toto's oddities, the boy, on Mai's advice, decides to leave him on the shore and hurries away, but discovers that the turtle is trying to catch up with its owner. After leaving the seashore, Toto crawls onto the roadway, where a high-speed van threatens to run over him. The boy rescues his friend from under the wheels at the last moment and returns home together with Toto. Toru shows his friends the unusual pet. Mai hears the boy's excited cries. She looks out on the balcony and realizes that Toru has not kept his promise to take his strange turtle back to the sea. Worried out of her mind, Mai shows Toru an article about Gamera, a giant flying turtle that shoots fire out of its mouth. Her friend's new pet seems to be a future threat, but Toru sees the little turtle he saved as his friend and assures Mai that nothing bad will happen. But the fears of the boy's friends begin to come true the very next day when Toto suddenly grows to the size of an adult turtle overnight. Hiding such a huge beast in his room is no longer possible, and together with Mai and his friends, Toru takes it to a new shelter, an abandoned hut by the sea. The next day, Toru visits his pet. The boy wonders aloud where his mother might be and recalls the red glittering stone with the egg on it. The boy decides to give it as a good luck gift to Mai, who is going to have heart surgery soon. Toru makes the girl promise that she will definitely get well, so he can return the stone to Toto when she recovers. Upon seeing the present, Mai becomes absolutely convinced that the mysterious flying turtle is in fact Gamera. Toru continues to visit Toto, and one day discovers that the animal is not in the hut. Even after searching the entire neighborhood with his friends under a heavy downpour, the boy does not manage to find his friend. Toru does not give up the search and returns to the hut every day. One morning while there, the boys hear a siren over the town, announcing an emergency situation. The friends leave for the sound and meet Kosuke on the way, while the citizens are urgently evacuated to the school across the bridge. A metal structure suddenly collapses on it. Immediately thereafter, a giant monster, Zetas, appears in front of the terrified townspeople, rising from the depths of the ocean and causing shipwrecks and deaths at sea. The furious monster begins to devour the trapped and frightened inhabitants, and one of Toru's friends, who Kosuke tries to get out of the death trap, is struck by it. The man almost manages to escape from under the terrible monster's nose when Zetas does spot the fleeing prey and sets out to pounce on it. But his plunge is suddenly stopped by a powerful blow, and the astonished protagonists see before them the brave Gamera, who has grown larger and acquired impressive fangs. Gamera fearlessly takes the blow and engages in an unequal fight with the bloodthirsty foe, gripping its leg. Thrown back by a powerful blow, Gamera leads the dangerous monster further away from the city. The terrifying Zetas plans to attack from above and climbs the metal arch, hoping to pierce his opponent with his spear-sharp tongue. But Gamera grabs hold of it, and coming closer to Zetas' toothy mouth, strikes him down with a powerful fireball, sending the monster to the bottom of the sea. Weakened after the fight, Gamera is immediately surrounded by the military and taken on a truck to Nagoya University of Biology in front of amazed locals. There, biologists are going to inject Gamera with a substance made of red pearls, preserved from the death of his predecessor in 1973. Scientists believe that they can contain Gamera's power and will help their current defender awaken theirs to confront Zetas, who they expect to return in the near future. Meanwhile, Kosuke and Toru are staying with the evacuated citizens at the local school. The father tells his son about the Gamera he saw years ago. Kosuke recounts that the past Gamera sacrificed himself to save lives, and warns his son that his beloved Toto may not survive his fight with Zetas either. During their conversation, Kosuke receives a call from Mai's mother, who informs Toru that the operation on his friend's heart was a success, but the weakened girl keeps holding a red shining stone in her hands and repeating the same name, Toto. The boy understands what his friend, who knows much more about Gamera than he does, means. The next day, Toru and his friends set out on a dangerous quest to deliver the red stone, from which Gamera was born, and which contains his natural power, to the mighty defender. The boy leaves his father a note, and upon discovering it, the man immediately rushes after his son. Meanwhile, at the University of Biology, scientists' attempts to awaken Gamera's power prove fruitless, while the bloodthirsty giant Zetas, who has regained his strength after the previous battle, is already rushing towards the city to strike again. The monster first breaks into Gamera's hideout, and without encountering any resistance, freely advances into the center of the city, sweeping away everything in its path and leaving ruins in its wake. The city authorities order the citizens to immediately evacuate, and panic erupts in the streets, when all of a sudden, in the midst of the terrified city, the giant Gamera rises to its full size. The city's guardian fearlessly rushes at Zetas, knocking the giant lizard to the ground with his first tremendous blow. However, Zetas rises instantly, and the opponents once again engage in a fierce battle. Toru and his buddies rush towards Gamera to help their friend and obtain the stone that will awaken its fiery power. The boys desperately rush into the hospital to find Mei's room, but it turns out that all the patients have been evacuated. Moreover, at the site, Toru meets his angry father, who has come racing in after reading his note. Concerned for his son's life, Kosuke angrily scolds the boy for his behavior, but the boy responds by explaining why he did so.
But Toto needs that red stone, and I gave it to Mai.
During their argument, a fierce battle between the two adversaries unfolds outside the window, and upon seeing it, Toru, despite his father's warnings, rushes to his friend. He believes that the giant Gamera is still the same Toto who needs help. Kosuke runs after his son, but first instructs the boy's friends to find shelter and hide. Mai is in the central hospital, right next door to where Gamera is fighting to save the city and its inhabitants. In the hopes of giving the turtle the stone, Mai breaks free of her IVs and tries to walk on her own after a difficult operation. But the medics and her parents stop her desperate attempt by forcibly placing her on the hospital bed. Suddenly, a little girl comes to her aid and fearlessly takes it upon herself to pass the stone to Gamera. The girl breaks through the fear-crazed crowd, but still finds herself trapped near the railing by the endless mass of people. Then a young man takes up the torch and instantly understands what he has to do. Moving on from hand to hand among the intrepid boys and girls, the red stone finally ends up in the hands of Toru's friends, who got lost on their way to the shelter. The boys quickly find their friend and hand the stone over to him, taking on the responsible mission. Kosuke and Toru head to Gamera, who is in a desperate situation at the time. He is stuck high above the ground between the floors of a giant skyscraper, thrown there by a powerful tail swing of Zetas, who at this point is climbing a nearby tower, intending to pounce on Gamera again. The father and son manage to quickly cross multiple floors, but unexpectedly encounter an obstacle. A flight of stairs is blocked by the debris of a destroyed floor. Kosuke manages to lift the obstacle so that Toru can get to the top, but he can't make it on his own, so Toru goes further alone to save his friend. The boy bravely overcomes the final obstacles and finally makes his way to Gamera. Before giving his friend the stone, Toru desperately begs Gamera to keep fighting, but not sacrifice his life as he did so many years ago.
So you can win and live.
At this time, the evil Zetas, who has climbed to the top of a skyscraper, knocks Gamera out of his confinement with a powerful blow of his tail, and the boy manages to aptly throw the stone right into the jaws of the giant tortoise falling down. Gamera crashes heavily into the ground, raising a cloud of thick dust that immediately dissipates as the revived flying Gamera swiftly spins in the air and knocks the enemy off the roof of the skyscraper. He descends to the ground after the downed foe and uses his firepower to destroy the evil Zetas with a powerful blast of flame that tears the enemy to shreds. After waiting for the battle to end, the government troops intend to immediately capture Gamera and take him away for further research. However, the road is blocked by the locals. They stand up to protect their savior, who, having gathered his strength, flies away from the liberated city. As always, you'll find the name of the movie in the description. Share in the comments. What other kaijus besides Gamera and Godzilla do you know? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next awesome retelling.